is about my first marriage. I was 5. And what happened is I showed up in kindergarten class and I went to the cloakroom to hang up my little sweater. And the Borston twins were there and they were waiting for me. And so they grabbed hands and they came up to me and they said, "Who are you going to marry? Who are you going to marry?" And which I took as a real proposal. And I knew immediately that I would marry Robert because Robert had freckles. And I've always had a thing for freckles. I like freckles on people, I like freckles on dogs. If you have freckles, that's probably why I invited you. And I didn't want to hurt Lewis's feelings, even though I knew it was going to be Robert. So I said, I'm going to think about it. And then at recess, I walked up to Robert and I said, you know, it's you. It's you. I want you. And he was all elated, and I thought, how am I going to break this to Lewis? But Lewis was a champ. I was honest with him. I said, Robert has freckles, you don't. I have a thing for freckles, so it is what it is. And, you know, thank you for your offer. And we ran and told Mrs. Lichtenfeld, our teacher, who was also overjoyed. And Mrs. Lichtenfeld said, that is so great. Why don't we do a little ceremony on Friday at school? And so we said, great. And I went home and came back on Friday. That was probably a Tuesday or Wednesday. Came back on Friday. We had a little ceremony towards the end of the day. And then instead of having milk and cookies, we got cupcakes and punch. And during nap time, how the boys sleep on one side and the girls on the other, she let us push our cots a little bit closer together. So we're like this instead of like this. Which for me felt like a very advanced thing. And so I went home and my parents, I mean, it's kindergarten, so I don't think they say, you know, what did you do today? Or how was the playground? Or what happened? Or what happened today? And I said, I got married. And my dad had the sweetest look on his face. And he said, and so a lot of people here know my dad, so they'll get it. And he said, that's marvelous. And then my mom had a very serious look on her face. And I said, you don't look as happy. And she said, well, very earnestly, she said, I would have imagined if a daughter of mine was going to get married, that I would have been invited to the wedding. So my dad said, don't worry, Gloria, we can have another ceremony at home. So came Sunday, Robert and I got married by the pool. My dad performed the ceremony. I had a little white dress and a sash and a white patent leather shoes and gloves because I had been my aunt's flower girl, and that was my outfit, so I had a perfect outfit. Robert had a little suit, and Lewis was his best man. Susie Schaub was my maid of honor. And I remember thinking about Lewis, that this was a really stellar young man. I mean, I turned him down, but he still stood up for his brother who I married. So we have this wedding at home. Robert's parents were there, the Borstons were there. We did whatever we did, I don't remember, but we got back to school on Monday, and there was always roll call, and you know, they looking at you, they know you're there, but they say like, you know, Peter, and you have to raise your hand. So she said, Katie Stern, come on in, kids. So she says, I'll just wait for them to sit. Hi, Marla, hi, Mary. It's okay, don't worry. Don't worry, it's cool. So she says, I'm telling the Married at Kindergarten story. So, oh, but this is a joke, so I have to back up because the joke will be Kaputski. Okay, so, roll call. So she says, Katie Stern, and I don't raise my hand. And she's staring at me and she says, Katie Stern, I'm looking right at you. I know that you're here. And I said, it's Mrs. Robert. And she said, oh, I can't believe I forgot. Of course, Mrs. Robert Borston, and I went here. So for the entire year, every day at school, I had her address me as Mrs. Robert Borston. And anywhere I went, whether I went to a party or anything, whatever it was, where they'd say, and what's your name? You know, you're 5 or this thing, and I go, Mrs. Robert Borston. And so that was my name. We were married until the 3rd grade.
Wow.
And this is sad but true, but when I got married later, at 39, I realized my longest relationship had been my first marriage. And then my second marriage lasted the same amount of time. So that says something. But we got divorced during a puppet show. And later, in my 20s, I'm going to skip ahead, I moved to New York. And the Borstons had moved away in the 7th grade, so I didn't hear, you know, there was no word about them. Cheryl, were they in school did you know the Borstons?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but you came in the 6th grade or the 6th grade? Okay, they moved away in the 7th grade. And I'm in my early 20s, I moved to New York, I'm down in the village with my friend Maya, I've only been there a week or 2, and I said, you know, somebody told me that Louis Borston lives here. And I think he's somewhere in the village, but I don't know where, and I want to call him. So she opens up the phone booth, and she says, yeah, here he is, there's no address. And I dial the number, and a really deep voice answers the phone. And I'm like 23, yeah, maybe 24, probably 23. I say, hello, and I say, hi, Louis, this is a blast from the past, it's Katie Stern, and he says, it's Robert. So it was like 20,000 times better than it being Louis. And I said, Robert? I thought I was calling Louis's house. And he said, yeah, but Louis is out of the country and I was just here picking up his mail. How are you? I said, oh my God, I'm great. I just moved to New York. Do you live here? He says, yes. I said, where are you? I don't know where Louis is. He said, it's on Christopher Street. I said, that's in the village? He said, yeah. I turned to my friend Maya. I said, Maya, where's Christopher Street? And she goes, like this. It was diagonally, the building was diagonally across from Maya. So I said, Robert, you have to come outside. So he comes down and I go out, and you know, out comes this still freckly, you know, somewhat taller, but he's short like me, but you know, but he's not this tall. And he's got this deep voice. It doesn't go with the face at all. And hugging, kissing, and we're laughing, and I said, you've got to come meet Maya. So I bring him over to meet Maya, and then we all decide to go out to eat. So we go out to eat, and we're laughing and laughing, and we're telling Maya a million stories, and she's a great audience, so she's laughing, and the waitress comes over. And the waitress says, you know, you guys are really having a lot of fun. It seems like you've known each other for a long time. And I said, well, we have, but we haven't seen each other in a long time. And she said, oh, what's the history here? And I said, oh, this is my ex-husband. And she looked at us, and at 23, I looked 19, 18. So she looked at us, and she said, and she, you know, kind of had this, and she said, well, how long ago were you married? And I turned to Robert, and I said, I don't know, honey. What's it been, 17 or 18 years now? Oh, by the way, this is my bedroom. Well, it was. It's not anymore. But, so I grew up in the, I have no idea if I'm going to sit because I'm really comfortable standing. But I grew up in the entertainment industry. I wasn't a star, but my father was in the business and my mother was an actress too. And one of my dad's television shows, he was a writer and also a producer and occasional director. But one of his shows was Get Smart. And I grew up on that show, meaning I was young enough where we went to the set all the time in the summer. We would hang out there on Fridays. I was there all the time with him in the summer. And the show was on 5 or 6 years, so it was a nice chunk. I think I was 5 or 6 when it started, like right around when I got married. And then until I was 10 or 11, something like that. And Get Smart, hang on a second, for a second. Get Smart was sponsored by Benson and Hedges. So back then, it's not like now, you all know this because you're a couple of youngins in here, but otherwise we're somewhat in the same ballpark. And there would be one sponsor, so there was only one person that all the commercials were for, and it was Benson and Hedges. And they would send cartons and cartons and cartons of cigarettes to my parents' house as gifts, but nobody smoked. And I'd say, why don't you tell them not to send them? And my dad said, you can't do that. You know, they want to give you something. And so I'm talking about like 100 cartons, you know, over time, 130 cartons of cigarettes, which they had a bar. He sat in the bar. So I hate waste. And I really do. I wouldn't order anything in a restaurant if I didn't think I could finish it. I don't like waste. And I thought, well, God damn it, somebody's got to smoke these. So, I remember the first time, I think I was about 8 or 9, and I took a cigarette out of the bar, and I went up to my bedroom, and I had a balcony. I thought, I'm gonna go out on the balcony, I'm gonna light this thing, I'll take a puff, and I'll see how it goes. So I do that, I take the puff, and I'm coughing like crazy, and I'm so dizzy, and I run back into my room, and I lay on the bed, and in 2 seconds I'm asleep. Well, I was an insomniac. I've been an insomniac my whole life, so I found the cure to insomnia. So the next night I took a puff, the next night I took a puff, and now we're into like year 3, year 2. I'm up to, you know, a cigarette a day or whatever. And at this time I'm probably 12, and other people are wanting to try smoking, but I'm the only person with cigarettes. So I realized the leverage I had here, and I would give cigarettes to my friends, but if you weren't really a friend but I knew you, I would sell you the cigarettes. And so I did something like, I don't remember exactly, but let's say 3 for a dime or 1 for a nickel or something like this, and kids would write their order up in this classroom and send me a little list, and I would meet them in the bathroom. And again, we didn't know you could get cancer from, like, I didn't know I was, you know, essentially possibly leading towards their death. I thought I was helping them do something a little bit, you know, odd. But so I was dealing the cigarettes. Then it gets to college, and I'm now up to 3 packs Marlboro Red a day. Wow. Oh no, I forgot something very important. Hold on, I gotta back up. 7th grade, we're just running out, hey, can I do that? We're just running out of the cigarettes. And you know what, you guys, this is, just because we're friends, I have to say this, because I forgot like key funny things, but I have to back up. When I was smoking, when I was 9, the first time I smoked, like a week later, Mom came into the bedroom and she could smell the smoke. And she said, are you smoking? And I looked her straight in the face and I went, smoking? I'm 9. And somehow that worked because nobody came and took the away from me. So that's why I'm 12. So my friend Leslie is sleeping over, and my mother's best friend, Dottie Schott, who lived in New York, one of her best friends, would come and stay with us for 2 weeks every summer. And Dottie was a commercial actress and did voiceovers. And there was this commercial when if you're my age, when we were young, that was a soft and dry, and it was the deodorant, and it was an octopus that had 8, I don't know if you remember this, and she would put the deodorant under all 8 lines, and she would say, soft and dry, keeps you dry, 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 and it never stings. And that was Dottie's real voice. So she would talk, or her real affected voice. So she would say like, Katie, how are you? She would never just talk like that. So she came to stay with us for the 2 weeks, and she was a smoker. And I was having a hard time getting cigarettes at this point. And so I went into the drawer in Dottie's room, and I would take 1 cigarette out of the pack and think, she's not gonna know it's 1 cigarette. And then one and I go in to take the cigarette, and there's a little note rolled up in there that says, "Meet me in the basement at midnight." So I go to my friend Leslie and I say, "Oh fuck," and I show her this thing, and she says, "I'll go with you." I said, "You have to go with me." So at midnight, we go down to the basement, and we're sitting there, and I'm scared because I'm thinking, she knows, she's going to tell. I don't know what, but she comes down and she says, "All right, how long you been smoking?" And I said, "Since I'm 9. And she said, 9? And I explained why and how it had happened. She said, "Okay, do you know how to blow smoke rings?" And I said, "I'm okay, I'm not great." And she said, "I'm going to teach you something." And she had those bubbles that you stick the bubble thing in, and you blow a bubble. And she said, "I'm going to show you how to blow a smoke ring through a bubble." So now she's like my hero, and she teaches Leslie and I how to blow the smoke rings through the bubble. And then she says, "That's it. Don't say I never did anything for you, and get your own fucking cigarettes." And she goes back up to bed. Okay, so now I'm 20, and I'm going to school at Cal Arts with a few of my friends here. And my boyfriend at the time and my best friend at school both wanted to quit smoking. Both tried to quit smoking and failed 3 times. And I have to admit that felt weak to me. I had no desire to quit smoking. But I thought, I'm going to quit smoking so you guys can see that you can quit smoking. Because they'd say, "Well, you try it, if you want to." I said, "Well, I don't want to." So I quit cold turkey. And I was so obnoxious about it, I carried a pack around with me, and I would say to them all the time, "I quit, I'm carrying a cigarette, and I'm not even smoking." Like I was just, and now I'm the worst kind, so that when people smoke, I hate it. I'm the worst of the, I choke, I cough, it's no fun for me at all. So I'm that kind of ex-smoker. Okay, hold on. I don't have total segues for things. I tried, and I just couldn't get there. Okay, so where I grew up in Benedict Canyon on Angelo Drive, and my friend Cheryl was across the street from me. She's going to show up in another story. And I would walk my dog. We had an Irish setter. And I would walk the dog 2 blocks away down Roxbury Drive all the time. On Saturdays and Sundays, I take my dog for long walks. You guys should come sit down. Come in, baby. Come in.
Who's got a seat for me?
She has to go to the bathroom.
Oh, go to the bathroom. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go too. Can you see? Or can you see back there?
Yeah.
Turn right, and there's a bathroom right. I can't believe I don't have to go to the bathroom. So, how was I saying?
Robertson.
Thank you. Roxbury Drive. So, on Roxbury Drive, near where I lived, Jack Benny lived in this house. Lucille Ball lived in
So cool.
this house. And then you cross right here, Lexington, and Jimmy Stewart lived in this house. So, all those maps to the stars home things, they were always stopping, and they'd do the spiel, and you'd hear them do it. And I kind of felt sorry for them. I never ever saw Lucille Ball come out, but I would always see Jack Benny on Sundays. He would come out, and he obviously timed it for when the maps to the star home thing would be there, because he would come out and he would go to pick up his newspaper, and he was wearing a robe, and then he would go to pick it up, and he would park the robe. And then pick up, and then go, "Well, hello there," and wave at the people. So I'm walking, I'm probably 8, 9, I'm wearing my pajamas and a bathrobe, and I'm walking our Irish Setter Derby, and it's a Sunday, and I see Jimmy Stewart standing outside of his house. First time I saw him. And I only knew him, I knew It's a Wonderful Life, but it didn't mean what it meant to me as I got older. He was just that guy from that movie. And he says, across the street, he says, "Well, hello there." And I looked over, and he says, is that a setter you've got? And I said, it is. He says, I have 2. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you want to come meet them? And I said, okay. So I crossed the street, and he had bought the whole plot next door. They had knocked down a house. He bought that. There was a wall up around it, but it turns out he bought that for his dogs. It was a dog run, so he never built on it. And he had the 2 dogs there, and he says, oh no, what's your dog's name? I said, Darby. I forget his dog's name. But he said, well, come on in, we'll let the dogs play. I said, okay, so we go in, he takes them to the yard, and we're talking. He says, where do you live? What's your name? And I'm there for like 45 minutes or something. I'm there for a long time. And then suddenly I realized, I left the house and I said, I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And I'm like 8 or 9, I don't know, but I'm a kid. And he says, you probably should want to get going now because your parents might be worried about you. And I said, yes, I didn't realize how long it was. He said, but you're welcome here anytime. So I left and I go home and my father is beside himself. He's pacing, he's in his robe. We're always in our robes and bathrooms and all. That's how we live. And he's pacing and he says, where were you? And I said, I'm sorry. He said, I drove up and down. I said, I was on Roxbury. He said, I drove all over, I didn't see you. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I was over at Jimmy's house playing with his dogs. And Dad goes, Jimmy who? And I said, oh, Jimmy Stewart. And my dad got this little look in his face like, you put me through that, but that's kind of intriguing. To Jimmy Stewart's house, right? And I said, and I'm invited back anytime. So I gave my dad, this nervous breakdown, but I think he was a little bit impressed with that I had worked my way, that I had a new buddy. My new bestie was
a little bit that soon you would embark on a life of crime, right? Sorry to interrupt.
It's funny that you say that because I did not have a segue to my next story.
And there it is.
And there it is. I am so glad I invited you. Okay. You guys doing okay?
Yep, we're here.
Hello. Hi, welcome. Okay, so I led a little bit of a life of crime as a young person. I was a really big kleptomaniac, or I stole a lot, and I considered myself very good at it because I did not get caught for the longest time. And so to me that meant I was really good at this and I should just keep going because clearly I had a talent. And so I went to school across the street from Robinson's department store, which is the main place that I would make my heists from. And I was also in therapy at the time. I was in therapy from 7 to 13, and that's a whole other story. But I would take the bus to therapy in Westwood, and there were nice little stores in Westwood. So sometimes I would take a later bus back, pick up a few things, and go to Century City with my friends. There was a store, Judy's. I'd go there, pick up a few things. And I had this friend named Lori Escow, who my dad and Lori's dad, no worries, my dad and Lori's dad had gone to high school together. And Lori, I had stayed with her in Great Neck, New York, and she was coming out to stay with me. And I said, what kind of things do you want to do? And she said, I just want to do whatever is like a typical thing for you that's really fun. So what's coming. I took her shoplifting. And the one time I get arrested. And all I took was Argyle socks. I usually took jewelry. See, silence is the whole room. I have this feeling that you're all like checking your earrings and your watches and stuff. But again, I thought I was really good at it. And I was, I think. But what I would do is I would go over and I also created sort of an entrepreneurial thing out of it. So I would, if you were my friend, like Cheryl, I would pick up something for you as a gift. If you were, did you say she's a giver?
Yes.
If you were not my friend, but we knew each other, I would take it and sell it to you for half price. So I didn't get a big allowance, but this helped fund whatever it was that I was saving up for. Probably cigarettes and I don't know what else. But it's weird because this person that I was doesn't feel like me. You know, it is me. I'm the person now who, when I see people like stick their hand into like the, you know, yogurt balls in the bins, I'm the person that walks up and goes, "You're not supposed to do that." But I really do. I'm like, "Don't you know that's not yours? You can't." You know, I became this like whatever person. So one day I come home and my dad says, "Where are you going?" I said, "Century City," which is what we would do. We would meet in Century City, we would go to the store Judy's, we would steal some stuff, and we would go bowling or something. So I said, "I'm going to Century City." And he said, "No, you're not." And I said, "I'm not?" And he said, "No, you're not." And he took out a 4-page document. And he said, "I would like you to go upstairs and bring me everything on this list."
Whoa.
And it was like 2 years worth of things that I had stolen. Well, what I did, because I was so afraid that before then, that I would be caught, why did I have all this stuff? Is I had curtains in my room with big hems. So I stuffed the hems with the different things that I stole, thinking, okay, and then I would put the things I was more likely to wear towards the front. But if I wanted something that was further back, I would like lift the curtains at a diagonal and everything would fall out to the floor. So now I have to go up there. I've given a lot of these things. Oh, fuck, I did it again. I forgot it. No, I have to say it. It's too good.
You do.
Not your part. I have to go back.
This is too good.
Do you guys care? It's my first time doing this. I have to go back. I forgot the best part. And Cher's in this part. Oh well. So it's a good thing we're friends. Can you imagine going to a play and the guy stops and goes, "Oh shit, I forgot lines from the last one. I gotta go back."
You can have people in the audience that reminded you of things.
Like
They-
someone like
it
you.
was part of it.
Yeah.
So not only did I shove them in the hems, but this was my way of what I thought of how I could kind of visually show all the things that I had been stealing without it causing a ruckus. At Christmas, we would do 1,000,000 presents, and we would open one at a time. So it was a very long day. You had to wait for each person to open their present, and my dad gave clues. So you had to guess the clue, go through the whole thing. So I thought, I'm gonna wrap up some of these things that I've stolen and give them to myself. And I'll write cards to myself.
Your laundry.
So poor Cheryl Benesra, who lived across the street and was one of my best friends, that year Cheryl gifted me like 4 or 5 pieces of jewelry. And we're still friends. She's here tonight. So that says something. And but not only did I open it, then I would read the card. Like I would write, and I was out loud, I would say like, you know, "I know you loved mine and you wanted one so badly that I got one for you too." And then I would go, "Oh my God! I can't believe that she, oh my God!" And stuff like that. And I would write another card, and I had all these cards, and then I got up and I said, "I will be right back. I have to call Cheryl and thank her." And I went to the phone, and out loud, I'd be like, "Hi, it's Katie. Oh my God, I love my," and I played both parts, like I was playing both parts and sit down. Okay, now, back to Dad saying, I want you to get everything on this list. Now I really don't know how to end this because I took it out of order. But basically, I went upstairs and I had to get, I didn't have everything because I'd given a lot of it away. But I had most of the 4 pages of items and I felt absolutely humiliated. My dad is my favorite person in the world. And I said to him, how did you know? Like, how do you have this list? And he said, it's a good thing I have friends in the police department. And I remember thinking, how would you know, why do you know people in the police department? And it was interesting because when I had gotten arrested with the Argyle socks, they just gave me like a slap on the wrist kind of a thing and said, you know, but probably there was some knowledge of something because I wasn't allowed back into Robinson's for 2 years, but there was some knowledge. And when I was older, 2 or 3 times, I asked my dad if he would please tell me how he knew it. He never would. He said, no, I'm gonna leave it at that. The only thing he ever said to me was, you may have had friends who were very concerned about you. And I thought, what kind of friend? Like, they're concerned about me, so they go to my dad and tell him I've been stealing? Like, none of it ever made sense. And I really wanted to know, so I had to just leave it at, he knew people in the police department. But there was some lady that was always on the bus to Westwood at the same time as me. And I thought at that time, she's following me. I just thought, that lady gets on the bus when I get on the bus, and she gets off the bus when I get off the bus. So I wondered about that. You know what I forgot to do, but we'll do it at the end? It's one of those days, you guys. I was going to show you Robert Borston's photograph after the kindergarten story, but we'll do it at the end. I'm just forgetting stuff. Okay. So most of my stories tonight are childhood stories, though I have a lot of crazy adult stories, but I'm going for mostly the kid ones. But I ran away from home a lot. Cheryl knows this too. A lot. I loved my dad. I wanted my dad to leave my mom, get rid of my brother, and we just run off together. But that wasn't going to happen. So, and my mom and I didn't get along at all. Now we have a beautiful relationship. And my brother and I didn't get along at all, and we still don't. And I was always running away. So the first time I went to this 24-hour drugstore, I thought, what am I going to do, kick me out? I'm sit here for 24 hours. I took a pack of dimes from my dad, and I sat in the phone booth calling people. And then finally, the man who owned the drugstore, Mr. Morley, called my parents, and they came and got me. And I was afraid of the dark. So the problem with running away, when you're afraid of the dark, is you have to come home before it's dark. And I was too afraid to just be brave and let it go. So I would run away. Often my brother would chase me on his bicycle. And one Hanukkah, though we never really remembered to celebrate Hanukkah, but one Hanukkah, my godmother gave me for a present a little suitcase. Unbeknownst to her, what I would use it for. But it was, I had it packed under my bed for years. So that when I was ready to go, I just out the balcony, down the tree, down Benedict Canyon, and off to wherever I was going. So I had already exhausted all my friends' houses because Mom and Dad would call and say, you know, I couldn't go just across the street to Cheryl's because that would be too obvious. But wherever I went, they found me. So this time I thought, I am going to run away to the Beverly Hills Hotel. It's straight down from my house. So it's an easy, get there in 10 minutes, 20 minutes if I'm walking, 10 minutes on my bike. Only this time I decided I was moving to the Beverly Hills. So I put a little bathing suit in my little suitcase, And I don't remember what happened, but it was probably some big explosion with my brother or my mother or both. And I was off to the Beverly Hills Hotel. So whenever I would run away, I would steal a pack of dimes or quarters, this time quarters, from my dad. And I did feel badly about stealing, because I loved my dad, but there was no way, I couldn't go without any money. That's how would I survive? So I went to the Broadwater Hotel, and I used to buy these things called Allenberry pastels, and they were really cough drops, but they were chewy, and they were the greatest tasting thing in the world. And I would save my allowance so I could buy a huge tin of Allenberry pastels. So I went into the candy store and I bought the pastels, and then I went to the phone booth with my roll of dimes, and the phone booths at the Beverly Hills Hotel are right across from what was the soda fountain. And there was a little girl about my age standing in front of the place, waiting for someone. So I said, hi. They were the same age. She said, hi. And I said, are you going in there? And she said, yeah, I'm waiting for my mom. And I said, the coffee milkshakes are really great. And she goes, oh, okay, thank you. So then she goes, what's your name? I said, Katie. So what's your name? I don't remember her name. Tammy. So her mom shows up. And her mom says, hi, are you staying here? And I said, yes. And she said, oh. And then she said, well, we're staying here too. And I said, what are you guys here for? And she said, wedding. How about you? I said, the wedding. So she said, well, I don't know if you're gonna be with your family, but we're going down to the pool if you wanna go down to the pool. And I said, let me go ask my mom. And then she says, okay, I'll bring you down to the pool. So 10 minutes later, I'm in my little bathing suit. I go down to the pool. We're hanging out, we're having fun. She says, I'm gonna get Tammy some lunch. And I said, oh, I've got to get our room. You can charge it there. She says, I'll get you lunch. I said, no, I feel funny. She said, no, I'll get you lunch. I said, okay. So we had like hamburgers and French fries and milk, we'd already had the milkshakes and we're swimming and we're playing. She says, well, we're going to have to go upstairs now and get ready. But we'll see you at the wedding. And I said, okay. So they leave. And I remember trying to figure out not how I could get to the wedding, but how I could move into the Beverly Hills Hotel. Because I did not want to go home. But I knew that I wasn't going to show up at the wedding and they were going to know that I was lying. So I went back to the phone booth and I'm calling friends, and now it starts to get dark. And I'm getting scared. I'm thinking I can't walk home because it's dark. And so I'll call home again and I'll ask to be picked up. And I was always in trouble, But we had a housekeeper named Hazel. And everybody thought we made her name up because the TV show with Shirley Booth was also called Hazel. And it was on at the same time. And our Hazel was from England and Shirley Booth was from, anyway. So I called home, and usually they were angry or scared when I was gone. And Hazel answered the phone. And she said, oh, hello. And I said, is Dad home? And she said, no, he's gone out. And I said, is Mom home? She said, no, they've gone out. And then she said, where shall I say you're calling from? And I said, I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And Hazel said, how long will you be staying there? And I said, well, I don't want to come home. And Hazel was like my rock. And I said, I don't want to come home, but I don't have enough money to, stay over. So, can you ask Dad to pick me up? She says, well, I'll leave a message for him, and I'm sure he'll see it when he So that scared the shit out of me. And about 10 minutes later, my dad walks into the Beverly Hills Hotel. They weren't home. They had actually gone over to my godfather's house, also up in the canyon, and said, she's going to call when it gets dark. Call us and tell us where she is, and we'll come get her. But I do honestly think that was, I was thinking about it on the way over here, that one for some reason scared me. Like that was the end of, like things stopped. I stopped stealing. I stopped smoking. I stopped running away. And I don't know what the last,
You
what's
got
the,
remarried, didn't you?
yes, but that's another, thank you for saying that, because I didn't have a segue into the next story.
Jeff, you were a segue.
I didn't need you to remember that, sorry.
Truly, I am so glad that I invited you.
I'm here to help.
Last one. So now I'm an adult. And again, there's a million stories, but this was one of my favorite things that have happened to me. Now he's married again. And I got married at 39. So I got married at 5. I got married very early and very late. And both for 4 years. And my husband's name was, I guess it still is, but was Mario Velasquez. And he said it like that, Mario Velasquez. And we met and got married 6 months after we met. We got engaged 9 days later and got married 6 months after. And after we got married, he would call home like 10 times a day, just to say he missed me, or just, it was all the time. And I had lived alone forever, but he would call home and he would say, "Yes, Kate, this is your husband, Mario Velasquez." And I remember thinking, like, this is the weirdest freaking thing. And I'm thinking, Mario, you don't have to tell me who you are. You go, "Yes, and I know that it's you." And he would say, "Why does it bother you?" And I'd say, it's just weird. And his son was living with us, and he would call Camilo, and he'd say, "Yes, Camilo, this is your father." He did this for 4 years. "Yes, Kate," every time I'd be like, so Mario Velasquez and I were in New York, and we were going on vacation, and we were staying at the Mayflower Hotel, which is on Central Park West. And then we were headed over to my friend David Broza's, and Rosa was here. We were headed over to the Brozas, and the Brozas were coming to pick us up. And my husband, Mario Velasquez, was checking out. So he was behind me with the, what do you call it? The reception, what do you call the person at that desk? The what?
Bellboy?
No, the person you pay and you.
Concierge?
Okay, let's call it
Reception, yeah.
receptionist, one of those people. He was over there, he was paying, and it was snowing. And I love snow, I love to watch snow come down, and I wasn't a skier, so I never spent a lot of time in snow. And it was snowing, I could see Central Park, and the doorman had the door open, and I'm seeing the cabs and the people, and I was just like in heaven, looking at the snow. And the doorman is standing there, it's quite cold, because there's the door open. And the doorman is standing there, and he pokes his head outside, and he says, "Rosie, what are you doing out here? Rosie, come in, what are you doing out here?" And then within 45 seconds, a full-grown kangaroo comes hopping into the Mayflower Hotel.
Oh my God.
I'm looking at the kangaroo, and I'm trying to process, thank you. There's no word, there's no way to process it. I'm seeing Central Park, snow, kangaroo. The kangaroo comes straight up to me, picks me up, puts both arms around me, and starts to swing me like this.
Oh my God.
My husband, Mario Velasquez, said that my body was going that my upper body was straight and my bottom half was going like this. What I remember feeling, for me, I love animals more than, you know me, so I love animals more than anything in the world. So, and the last thing I would expect is to get hugged by a kangaroo, especially in Manhattan. But the kangaroo, I was thrilled and it hurt a lot. They had very, very long claws. So the claws were in my back, I could feel that it hurt, but I was thrilled and confused. And the whole thing maybe lasted a minute, right? But I'm seeing, as I'm being swayed grade, I remember seeing, like, I could see it, like, taxi cab, you know, snow, kangaroo. And then, like, doorman, some other guy, you know, kangaroo. And I'm trying to just process it, and then this guy says, Rosie, let her go. And then he goes, Rosie, put her down. And Rosie let go. And I fell flat on the floor. And I'm laying there. Now that man's head is over me, and the doorman's over me, and my husband, who's body over last name, it was like a greenish gray color at this point, standing over me, and the lady, and she's got water. And I remember just saying, because I used to like to travel with my dog, and I said, first I said, I just have to make sure that I'm clear on what happened. Did a kangaroo just pick me up and sway me around? And she says, no joke, she says, yes, but you are so fortunate that this wasn't last year when a Bengal tiger was staying on the farm. So then I said, so I assume you take dogs. And then I remember the guy, Rosie's handler, he says to me, don't go anywhere, I'll be back. Like he's pissed. And he guides Rosie by the tail. And an elevator door opens, and they get Rosie into the elevator, and the door closes, and away she goes. So I'm standing there saying, do you need anything? Do you need water? You know, I said, I think my back is pretty cut up, I think. So we look at my back, and it's got the full, you know, marks across it. And I remember being so pissed that Mario didn't take photos. And saying to him, you didn't take photos? And he's like, take photos? I turned around and my wife is being swamped by a kangaroo. But he took photos, you know, of my back. So then my friend David Rosa gets there. And I say, you're not going to believe what happened. And I'm telling him, and he says, we have to go to emergency because I have to see if I need a tetanus shot. And then the man comes back down. And he says, listen, what did you do that she picked you up? They don't pick people up. What did you do? And I said, I didn't do anything. I'm standing in the lobby, and your kangaroo comes jumping at you because for some reason it's staying in New York on the 14th floor. And he said, I work with the Ohio Zoo, and we bring visiting animals to the Bronx Zoo, and they come for 2 months at a time, and this year it's at Rosie, kangaroo. And I said, okay, well, I didn't do anything. And he said, well, you had to do something. So then he said to me, can you kind of posture for me what happened? And I said, I really don't know. And as I went, like, I really don't know, he said, do you think you did that? And I said, this? And I said, maybe. I might have gone, oh my God. He said, okay. She thought you were a baby kangaroo. And I'm thinking like, really? But he said she picked you up, and the way that a kangaroo, if the kangaroo doesn't go face down into the pouch, the way the mom gets the kangaroo in the pouch is to do this swingy thing which lowers the kangaroo into the pouch. So maybe baby kangaroos go like this, I don't know, but I was a baby kangaroo. So our friend, so David comes, now I want to tell everybody, right? And I am literally, but it's winter, so for me to show you my back meant taking off like, 4 layers of clothes. But everybody, I was like, I got picked up by a kangaroo. Can I just show you the scratches on my back? And we went, I did have to get tetanus shots because we didn't know when I got them. It healed, it was fine. And when I told this story on Facebook, I went back to watch it the other day. I was just going to watch and see how long certain stories were. Somebody wrote a note on there, and they said, oh, that's Jack Hanna. He's famous. And I said, who's Jack Hanna? I read the things. They said, he's the famous zookeeper. He was on all these TV shows. He's the guy that always brought animals onto Letterman. And I went, oh, I used to see that guy on Letterman. And he'd come and he'd bring like a 20-foot snake and David would be scared and he'd let the animal out. She says, and he mentions Rosie, and she sends me this article. And it says Jack Hanna and different things, and he's got Rosie, you know, it's this kangaroo from the da-da-da, and I'm like, if there was a photo, I was gonna show it to you, but there's no photos of Jack. There was only, of Rosie. There's plenty of photos of Jack. Okay, so, in the line of not having any real endings, you know what it is? I talk a lot. It probably comes as a shock. But when the stories happen in real life, I realized that in real life, you're having a two-way conversation. So I would be telling you the story and you would say something back and this and that, and it would fizzle on to the next thing. When I started working on these, I had, I'm not specific, but there's no real ending to that. Other than, I've also had a deer make out with me, which was the other great highlight of my life. I'm not kidding, when I say these things, these are absolutely true. A wild deer for a good 5 minutes. Not tongue to tongue, the deer kissed me, you know, for 5 minutes. And I did get a little bit of that in video. But what I thought I would do is just, I forgot Robert Borston's photo. Anna, is it okay if sort of after the fact? So we're 6 now. It says here, Kate, 6 years, it's hard to see. And this is at my 6th birthday party at Genie Land. And you can't see his freckles, but he's plastered with freckles. So this is us 1 year in, when the relationship was still going really well. 1 year into the marriage. Okay, and then I thought I'd just show you, my dad was this incredible photographer, and these won't all be by my dad, but Anna, will you do whatever I had next? I just picked a fun array. So that's me, Mom leaving the hospital. Doesn't it look like I'm born in like the 20s, 1920s? Yeah. 1959. Okay, and what's next? That's me in the tub. I live in the tub, and I make all scary business calls from the tub. Still. Do you have to pee too? Wow. I can't believe that I don't have to pee. I have the smallest bladder in the world, and I have to go a little bit, but enough to use it. So, wait, what time is it? Oh, I can tell you this really quick. In my very first curating job, which was for the Zimmer Children's Museum, I had to make all these phone calls to very important, like, I called Kofi Annan, I called Maya Angelou, I wanted all these, it's a long story of what it was, but I was scared I'd get in the tub and make the call from the tub because it calmed me. And a guy called me, and I answered it, and I was in my pajamas, and we were talking for a long time. He was the head of the LA Weekly, and for some reason the museum wanted him to be in the show, and because we weren't only asking artists, you could speak out on an issue with these pieces, and so we're talking for forever, and he says, and I get into the tub, because it's going for a long time, but it's getting cold, and I don't want to turn the water on. So he says to me, well, we've been talking for a long time, I should let you go, it's a Friday night, you probably have a long drive home. And I said, no, I'm home. And he said, oh, you work from home, how great. I said, no, I don't work from home all the time, but I am home. He said, well, I hope I didn't catch you bath time. I said, no, I've been in the tub. And then I splashed water, and then he says, we won't mention this to anyone. I thought he would laugh, and it would be like endearing. He's like, we won't mention this. And then when I saw him at the opening, he just went like this. I'm not talking about it. Okay, what's next? Okay, I love this photo because usually my brother's the bad guy, but I was the bad guy. And they don't know what I did, but clearly I took like his cookie or something, and he is not happy about it. But I love this photo. Okay. And I was such a chubby little kid. Okay, so that's me probably at my first birthday party, or my second. So, this is me, let's say 64 years ago. Okay, what's next, Anna? time I was arrested. And the thing is, which I love about juvenile hall, is they let your pets visit you. And they also bring gifts. So it's much better than you get arrested as an adult. Okay, what's next? Oh, and that was our Doug Happy. Okay, Get Smart. So this is hanging out on the Get Smart set. Barbara Feldon, John Adams, my dad, my brother, me, trying to look like Barbara Feldon. I always forget this guy's name. Jeff, do you know? Jeff's dad had a small part on Get Smart as well. Recurring part. Who did he play again?
13.
Agent 13?
I don't even remember the damn number.
Okay, what's...
He showed up at weird places.
Like in a drawer or something. Yeah. So my parents did Christmas cards every year, and we had to pose for them. This was one of the Get Smart, so Michael was 008. I'm almost, not quite 007. Sending you a secret message. Okay, and what's next? Okay, so my parents believed that we should get jobs very early on. And so I was the script supervisor to Get Smart, and my brother was the director. And, okay, what's next? That's just my favorite childhood photo.
That's so awesome.
And, Michael Perlmutter, it was you who said, I don't know which photos you were talking about, and I was originally planning on doing it through, but he's like, you gotta show these photos, like, and then, you know, you're such a little criminal, but then you got these like sweet photos, although this one's got a little something going on, but that's fine. This is me after running away. One of the trips, you know, found and having to go back home. That's Darby, my Irish setter, friends with Jimmy Stewart's Irish setters. Okay, and this is the last one. This is when it was, I don't know how old I was there. That's Cooper, my beloved. But I wanted to be in snow on my birthday. And my then boyfriend and I had gone up to Idlewild over Christmas and it had snowed. And I said, I really, really want to go back on my birthday and have snow too. So we made a reservation for my birthday, knowing there's maybe a 60% chance it would snow. We get there, it's 56 degrees. And I am so bummed. We always stayed in the same place. So I said to the landlord who lived next door, I said, if you see some crazy woman on the deck doing some crazy dance, it's me doing a make it snow dance that I just made up. So my boyfriend looks at me like, you're not really gonna go out there. And I said, no, I am. And I went out there and I just did like Jules Pfeiffer's Dance to Spring, you know, just one of those like things. And I did a whole thing for a long time. And then I came back in and we went to bed. And he gets up to go to the bathroom and he looks outside and he wakes, this is at about 6 o'clock in the morning. He wakes me up and he says, come outside. I made it snow. And it snowed, we were snowed in. It's just like, I made it snow. And then ladies said, couldn't you have done like a little bit? So, okay, so what's thank you. What we're going to do, is walk right out this way.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Birthday, dear Katie.
Happy
birthday to you.
She will not deny.
Which she will not deny. That's so funny. Thank you. No, really, thank you. This was like a good. It was just a challenge I gave myself. It was, I'm really appreciative for being here. And so what we're going to do is the theater also owns the bar that's next door, and Nancy LaRue, who's disappeared because she's probably brought yummy flourless chocolate cakes and lemon bars. And we're just gonna walk over to the bar.
Through the
And
outside.
yes, you have to go through the outside and it's next door. It's on the
It's on the
corner.
corner.
It's on the corner.
To the left.
She's I came in through a different entrance. Yes, to the left.
When you exit this theater, you turn left, and it'll be right on the corner of Lillian Way and Santa Monica.
Thank you.
Way too much stuff.
So the desserts are on.
Follow the crowd.
The desserts are on Nancy, and the drinks are on you. But water is free. And I needed to do two extra special thank yous, but Nancy's not in here. But the impetus for this, as it had started in her hot tub. And we would do story time with Kate live from the tub. And I just didn't have the guts to do the naked hot tub thing. I would have in my 20s, and probably till maybe my 40s. But then so it evolved to this. And Jeff LeBeau, who I've called way too many times and run through every little nuance with, and for bringing me into the writing group. And to you, my friends, I love you and thank you. And to Dave and Nancy for driving the farthest. They came from the Vegas area, which is huge. So I have to clear the stage, but I will meet you